Hello, Namaskar. This is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. India's enemy and partner have joined hands. Pakistan has agreed to a mutual defense deal with Saudi Arabia. An attack on one of them will be an attack on both. Is this deal targeted at India? And how is New Delhi reacting to it? We'll bring you the full report. Also on the show, the US Central Bank has slashed lending rates amid the tariff lull. It's good news for President Trump, who is on a state visit to the UK. We'll decode his talks with Prime Minister Keir Starmer. In the world of tech, Meta has come out with a new product, a pair of Ray-Ban glasses boosted by AI. Closer home, Prime Minister Modi reaches out to Nepal's interim leader. In Indonesia, deadly protests test President Subianto. While back in America, their cherished freedom of expression is under threat. As late-night hosts get the sack, will anyone call out US hypocrisy? We also take a look at India's Project Cheetah. On its 3-year anniversary, how are the big cats doing? All this and more lined up for you. The headlines first. Venezuela begins military exercises on its Caribbean island in response to US military activity in the region. Recently, American forces destroyed at least 2 Venezuelan boats, claiming it was part of an anti-drug operation. Washington has also accused the Venezuelan president of being a cartel leader. The tensions have raised fears of an invasion by the US. Syria expects to finalize security and military agreements with Israel by the year end. It would be a major breakthrough less than a year after the ouster of Bashar al-Assad. The US has been pushing for a settlement between the two neighbors. While Syria and Israel are technically at war, they opened direct negotiations after Assad was toppled in December last year. French protesters stage a day of nationwide disruption. They're angry over President Emmanuel Macron's budget policies. With unions calling for strikes, around a third of teachers have walked out. Most pharmacies have been shuttered, and commuters are facing severe disruption on the Paris metro. Cambodia accuses Thailand of preventing people from returning to their homes on the disputed border. This is part of a letter written by the Cambodian Prime Minister to the United Nations. But the Thai army claims the Cambodian residents had illegally occupied the territory. Phnom Penh has also asked Malaysia to urge Bangkok to halt these evictions. Chad's president strips 2 vocal anti-government activists of their nationality after accusing them of colluding with foreign powers. The president became the interim leader after his father was killed in 2021. He was elected president in 2024, but the polls were criticized by international observers. Pakistan has struck a new deal with Saudi Arabia. For a change, it's not a loan deal. It's not a bailout either. This one is a mutual defense deal, sort of like a bilateral NATO agreement. It says an attack on one country will be treated as an attack on the other. Even India has responded to this deal. New Delhi says it is studying the implications. The question is, why has this deal been signed now, and is it targeted at India? Let's look at the lead-up. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif was in Saudi Arabia yesterday. He was hosted by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and the pictures told a story. Riyadh organized a grand welcome for Sharif, an F-15 fighter jet escort, a ceremonial reception, and a guard of honor. Inside, it was clear why. Sharif and MBS signed a mutual defense treaty. They shared a warm embrace afterwards.
Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman.
سلام الملك السعودي.
So what does this treaty say? Mainly two things. One, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia will boost defense cooperation, maybe joint drills or sharing security assets. But the second aspect is more significant. Let me quote from Pakistan's statement. This is what it says. The agreement states that any aggression against either country shall be considered an aggression against both. Meaning, if you attack Saudi Arabia, it's like attacking Pakistan. And if you attack Pakistan, it's like attacking Saudi Arabia. Therefore, both countries will hit back together. On paper, this is what mutual defense means. Of course, this raises several questions. For starters, how will Pakistan and Saudi Arabia hit back? We know Pakistan is a nuclear power. They also have a first use policy, meaning they can use nuclear weapons even in a conventional war. So will Pakistan use their nukes to defend Riyadh? This question was put to a Saudi official. Listen to their response.
This is a comprehensive defensive agreement that encompasses all military means.
Sounds like nukes are on the table, which brings us to the second question. Is this targeted at India? Well, New Delhi has reacted to the agreement. This is what they've said. The government was aware that the development had been under consideration. We will study the implications of this development for our national security as well as for regional and global stability. So India is saying it was not caught off guard. It knew that such a deal was being discussed, and that in itself is a story. Either Indian intelligence extracted this information or Saudi Arabia kept New Delhi in the loop. Either way, it's a big deal. Riyadh is being extra careful to not antagonize India. Saudi officials say the ties are robust, India-Saudi ties, and will continue to grow. They say this deal with Pakistan is not targeted at any country. But is that really the case? This deal is certainly targeted at other countries, but chances are it's not India. And I'll explain why I'm saying this. For decades, the United States has protected West Asia's Gulf monarchies, whether it's Saudi Arabia or the UAE or Qatar. Washington shielded them from their regional enemies like Israel and Iran. But in recent years, the US has pulled back from West Asia. They have left these countries vulnerable. Just look at what happened this year. First, Iran launched missiles and drones at a US base in Qatar. Then Israel launched airstrikes at Hamas targets, also in Qatar. That's 2 attacks in 4 months. And in both cases, the United States did not retaliate. In Israel's case, the US did not even defend. So naturally, Gulf monarchies are spooked. What if the US is incapable of defending them? What if the US is not interested in defending them? They don't have a cutting-edge air force like the Israelis, nor do they have a missile stockpile like Iran. Maybe that's why Riyadh turned to Pakistan. Like their own army chief said, Pakistan is a dump truck. They can extend their nuclear umbrella to Saudi Arabia. And this is neither new nor surprising because Islamabad and Riyadh have had long-standing military ties. Pakistani soldiers have been deployed to the Saudi kingdom multiple times. Pakistan has also trained Saudi troops, around 8,000 of them since 1967. Even today, hundreds of Pakistani soldiers are stationed in Saudi Arabia. The equation is quite simple. Riyadh gives money, Islamabad gives the muscle. Yesterday's deal only formalizes this arrangement. Of course, Pakistan will spin this differently. They will inevitably link this to India. So let's address that angle as well. India is a crucial partner for Saudi Arabia. New Delhi is Riyadh's second biggest trade partner. Bilateral trade is around $42 billion. Compare that to Pakistan. Saudi Arabia's trade with Islamabad is just $3 to $4 billion. So let's be real here. Riyadh is never going to join a campaign against India. Words of support, maybe, but military help, highly unlikely. Also, this is not Pakistan's first mutual defense treaty. Let's go back to the 20th century. In 1955, Pakistan joined a mutual security bloc called CENTO, the Central Treaty Organization. This bloc had Pakistan, Turkey, Iran and the UK. and it also had the support of the US. But did that help Pakistan in the war of 1965 or the 1971 war? It did not. Nor did it deter India from defeating Pakistan. So the fact is, mutual defense is a complicated arrangement. It sounds good in theory, but in practice, there are several variables. Having said that, such a deal is not something that you can ignore. At the very least, it confirms one thing, that the Gulf Arab states will not abandon Pakistan. If anything, they will boost ties, and that is something that India should always keep in mind. Now let's talk about the American economy. The US Federal Reserve has made a move. That's the American central bank. They call it the Fed. They have a new mission on their hands: how to avoid a recession in the US. After months of holding steady, the Fed has cut interest rates.
In support of our goals and in light of the shift in the balance of risks, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to lower our policy interest rate by a 0.25 percentage point.
It's a 0.25% cut. That brings the interest rate between 4 and 4.25%. It is called the benchmark rate. It's the rate at which banks borrow from each other, but it affects all kinds of debt. From credit cards to home loans, it touches everything. And this is the first rate cut since December 2024, since December last year. The Fed chief says more cuts may follow. There could be 2 more reductions before the end of this year. The Fed chief is a man called Jerome Powell. Over the last few months, he has been under tremendous pressure from the White House. President Trump has been attacking him personally. He says Powell has been slow to cut rates.
I think he's done a bad job, but he's going to be out pretty soon anyway. In eight months, he'll be out. But I call him too late. He's too late all the time. He should have lowered interest rates many times.
So Trump has finally got his wish. But the Fed insists that it's not politics that has driven these rate cuts. It is hard data. The Fed was being cautious before, but now it is concerned. And one of its main worries is the job market, the US labor market. It is weakening. Unemployment has touched 4.3%. That's a 4-year high.
My colleagues and I remain squarely focused on achieving our dual mandate goals of maximum employment and stable prices for the benefit of the American people. While the unemployment rate remains low, it has edged up.
Long-term unemployment is rising. More than 1.9 million Americans have been jobless for 6 months or more. 1.9 million, that's over 25% of all unemployed people in the US. Plus, jobless claims are also up. These are people seeking unemployment benefits. Their numbers have gone up, and this shows that more people are being laid off. And to make matters worse, America is creating fewer new jobs. Look at the jobs added in the last financial year, 911,000 less than the year before. And all of this is making workers lose confidence. We have the findings of a new survey. It says only 45% Americans believe that they will find a new job if they are laid off. These numbers have sparked concerns at the Federal Reserve, and that is why they're cutting rates. So how does a rate cut help? A rate cut makes borrowing cheaper. Since interest rates are lower, your EMI is lower, so more businesses get loans. It also makes home loans and credit card debt less expensive, and this gives consumers more confidence to spend. And when the spending goes up, it fires up economic activity. It supports job creation. It boosts growth. Basically, this is how the Fed can avert a recession. But cutting rates is not a risk-free strategy. It also has a flip side. If interest rates fall too quickly, it can fuel inflation. Prices tend to go up because people are spending and the demand has increased. So that's the challenge for the Fed. It has to balance 2 goals. It has to keep inflation under control and it has to keep prices stable. At the same time, it has to ensure that there's enough money flowing in the economy so that more jobs can be created. Now, this is a tricky balance. A tough one to strike. These 2 goals are pulling the Fed in different directions. Inflation was close to 3% in the month of August in the US. And that's high for America, 3% inflation. The Fed's target is 2%. So 3% is a problem.
Inflation has eased significantly from its highs in mid-2022, but remains somewhat elevated relative to our 2% longer-run goal.
Prices are already high and Trump's tariffs are making the situation worse. Import duties on everyday items are up. This has made clothes expensive and this has caused grocery bills to rise. Tariffs have increased prices by almost 2%. That's according to a report by Yale. So the Fed here is walking a tightrope. If they cut interest rates too fast, inflation could spike further. If they move too slowly, the economy could slip into recession. So what will they do? What is their game plan? Well, Jerome Powell says they will go, and I'm quoting, meeting by meeting, meaning the Fed will keep tracking the data and they will decide on a case-by-case basis. It's a cautious approach. The goal is what economists call a soft landing. What's a soft landing? It means the Fed wants to slow down the economy just about enough to bring inflation down without raising recession risks. Or as Jerome Powell put it, this is, and I'm quoting again, this is a risk management cut. It's not a panic move, just a recalibration for now. But can they pull off a soft landing? Or is it already too late for the US? The next few months could decide the fate of America's economy.
But this is truly one of the highest honors of my life.
From the moment Air Force One touched down, Britain put on a show for Donald Trump. It wasn't just a red carpet. There were gold carriages, bagpipe serenades, grand gilded welcome dinners, things only a monarchy can muster. From the booming of ceremonial cannons to the cavalry welcome and the Royal Guard of Honor, yesterday was day one of Trump's visit in the UK, and this day had one purpose. It was designed to flatter a man who thrives on spectacle. King Charles, Queen Camilla, William and Kate, they all played their roles. They did what they do best, smile, flatter and look timeless. The guests were then escorted to the castle. In the afternoon, there was another military parade. Trump and the First Lady toured the Windsor Castle. There was scrutiny over some royal protocol slips, but the royals did not seem to mind. There were laughs, jokes, and some banter. But the highlight of the evening was this, a grand state banquet held in the honor of the US president. After all, this is a first. Donald Trump is the first US president to enjoy a second state visit to the UK. His last visit was in 2018. It was during his first term as president. And this is his second one. And Trump made sure that no one forgot about this nugget of information.
It's a singular privilege to be the first American president welcomed here. And if you think about it, it's a lot of presidents, and this was the second state visit, and that's the first, and maybe that's going to be the last time. I hope it is, actually. But this is truly one of the highest honors of my life. Such respect for you and such respect for your country.
King Charles praised the American democracy. Trump praised the British Empire. There was talk of kinship and a so-called unbreakable bond.
The bond of kinship and identity between America and the United Kingdom is priceless and eternal. It's irreplaceable and unbreakable. And we are, as a country, as you know, doing unbelievably well. We had a very sick country 1 year ago, and today, I believe we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. In fact, nobody's even questioning it, but we owe so much of that to you and the footing that you gave us when we started.
It was more pageantry and less politics. But amid all the dazzle, King Charles did make a political point. He made a mention of Ukraine.
Our countries have the closest defence, security and intelligence relationship ever known. In 2 world wars, we fought together to defeat the forces of tyranny. Today, as tyranny once again threatens Europe, we and our allies stand together in support of Ukraine to deter aggression and secure peace.
This wasn't just about indulging Trump's ego. The royals and the government are playing a delicate game, using the golden glow of the monarchy to make the US president more amenable to harder asks. Britain wants Trump to soften tariffs. It wants him to reassure NATO and to keep the money flowing into its faltering economy. The monarchy's role here was to butter up the US president, to distract, dazzle, and deliver Trump to the politicians, especially in the best possible mood. And by all accounts, day one worked.
Together we've done more good for humanity than any 2 countries in all of history. Together we must defend the exceptional heritage that makes us who we are, and we must continue to stand for the values and the people of the English-speaking world, and we do indeed stand for that.
If day one was about tiaras, day 2 was about trade. Trump swapped Windsor's chandeliers for checkers. That was the UK Prime Minister's countryside estate. There was a guard of honour, a tour of Churchill's wartime archives, and then private talks with Prime Minister Keir Starmer. And the Churchill angle is more than symbolic. It's a reminder of the quote-unquote special relationship between the UK and the US. Trump's visit this time has brought $204 billion in investment. Blackstone is investing around $122 billion. The likes of Palantir, Boeing and Stax have also made commitments. But all this gloss does not hide the cracks. The UK was the first country to strike a trade agreement with the US. British imports face a tariff of 10%, but British steel and aluminium are still subject to 25% tariffs. Pharmaceutical firms are pulling out. So this visit was very much about business, about securing investments and creating jobs.
We've already taken big steps forward, and we're going further today, much further. In a moment, the President and I will sign our groundbreaking new technology partnership, the Tech Prosperity Deal. It's a blueprint to win this new era together, shape it according to our shared values, and seize the incredible opportunities that are on offer.
Today we're making those ties closer than ever before. We've done some things that financially are great for both countries, and we work together, and it keeps us together, and I think it's an unbreakable bond we have, regardless of what we're doing today. I think it's unbreakable. But this is very big, and I want to thank all of the incredibly talented business leaders, the best in the world, biggest in the world, here this afternoon for investing in the Anglo-American alliance.
Of course, it wasn't just the fairy tale scenes. There was also a fair bit of drama outside. Anti-Trump protesters filled the streets of London. Many carried miniature versions of the infamous Trump baby blimp. Campaigners projected images of Trump with Jeffrey Epstein onto Windsor Castle itself. Human rights groups accused him of enabling the genocide in Gaza. Climate activists accused him of denying science. Strip away the feathers and the fanfare, and this visit is about survival. Britain is still wobbling after Brexit. For the UK, Trump represents both risk and reward. Secure American investment, temper his tariffs, and you win breathing space. Offend him, and you risk isolation. As for Trump, basking in royal pageantry bolsters his image back home. He gets to play the global statesman. And that is why day one was all tiaras and fanfare, but day 2 is the one that will actually decide whether the visit was worth it. It should have been a victory lap. Mark Zuckerberg was standing under violet lights at Meta's California campus. He was wearing what he called the future. A pair of smart glasses, glasses that can text, stream, and whisper recipes in your ear, all powered by artificial intelligence. It's a push for augmented reality, and these glasses start at $799 a pair. The Meta CEO called it a bold new age of wearable AI. But the demos reminded everyone of a simple truth. Tech does not always bend to the CEO's will. These high-tech glasses glitched, not once but twice. The first time was during a cooking demo. A man wearing the glasses asks, "How do I start this sauce?" He expected a detailed recipe, but the glasses had a mind of their own. They skipped the first few steps. So the man kept asking, "Start from the beginning." But it did not work. The glasses kept skipping a few steps.
Hey Meta, start live AI.
Starting live AI. I love the setup you have here with soy sauce and other ingredients. How can I help?
Hey, can you help me make a Korean-inspired steak sauce for my steak sandwich here?
You can make a Korean-inspired steak sauce using soy sauce, sesame oil.
What do I do
brown
first?
sugar.
What do I do first?
You've already combined the base ingredients, so now grate a pear to add to the sauce.
What do I do first?
You've already combined the base ingredients, so now grate the pear and gently combine it with the base sauce.
All right, I think the Wi-Fi might be messed up. Sorry, back to you, Mark.
It's all good. You know what? It's all good. The irony of the whole thing is that you spend years making technology and then the Wi-Fi at the day kind of catches you. All right. Anyway, we'll go check out what he made later.
So that was the first failed demo. The second happened with Mark Zuckerberg himself. The Meta CTO called him on WhatsApp. On cue, the glasses should have picked it up. Instead, the neural band froze. This is a fabric bracelet that translates tiny wrist movements into text. It stopped working. So Zuckerberg stood helplessly on stage, tapping the air, but unable to answer the call.
So I think our call will be coming in any moment now.
Pause WhatsApp video call.
There we go. Uh-oh. Well, let's see what happened there. That's too bad. I don't know what happened. Maybe Buzz can try calling me again. All right. Well, I got a missed video call. Okay, there's the actual video call. All right. I'm just going to pick that up with my neural band. This is, it happens. Yeah, let's, what do you think? Let's just go ahead and...
Pause WhatsApp video call.
Let's go for a fourth. All right, try it again. I keep on messing this up. And if not, then we'll go for the less fun option. Okay. I don't know what to tell you guys. All right. We're going to have Boz come out here, and we're just going to go to the next thing that I wanted to show and hope that will work.
It was a metaphor too perfect to ignore. Meta is trying to wire the future, but it can't even pick up the phone. Although, to be fair, glasses make sense as a bet. People already wear them every day. These are less bulky, more stylish, and Meta is also working with familiar brands like Ray-Ban, so it is a good bet. In fact, Meta entered this market in 2023. Reports suggest it has sold around 2 million pairs of smart glasses since then. And Mark Zuckerberg is not wrong here. Wearable computing could be the next great interface. But the problem is execution and the way Meta has been going about it. In 3 years, Meta has pivoted more times than we can keep count. First, it was the metaverse, a cartoonish virtual world that connects users. Billions were poured into this and billions were lost. Then came the VR headsets. It worked for some time, but adoption stalled outside of mostly gamers. And now they have these AI-powered glasses, and in the background, there's a massive bet on AI superintelligence. $15 billion invested in data centers, poaching talent from rivals with multi-million dollar paychecks, and promising that machines are smarter than humans. You see, tech companies usually bet on one platform at a time or one idea at a time. Apple has the iPhone, Google has search, Amazon has Prime, but Meta has eggs in every basket, from social networks to VR to AR and even smart glasses and AI. But if everything is the future, then why isn't it working? The metaverse flopped, Threads fizzled, VR still feels like a hobby, and the glasses that were supposed to be the next great leap stumble live on stage. And amid all of it, there are protests outside Meta's offices. These are protests by parents, activists, and former employees. They're demanding stronger protections for children online. Some have even accused Meta of burying internal research that showed how harmful their platforms were for children. So Zuckerberg is pitching eyewear that could change your life, but families are demanding that Meta stop ruining theirs. The disconnect is jarring. Meta is chasing tomorrow while still failing to answer for yesterday. So here's the big question. What is Meta really? Is it a social media company? Is it a hardware manufacturer? Is it an AI lab, a streaming hub, a VR studio? What is it? Right now, it's trying to be all of them at once. And it's good to be ambitious. But the problem is this. Meta wants to build the next great platform, but it's still struggling to prove it can master the one it already has. Now let's turn to Nepal, where a major political shift is underway, and at the center of it is Sushila Karki, the former Chief Justice of Nepal and the current Prime Minister. She took charge last Friday as the interim PM. And today she held her first call with a foreign leader. Karki spoke with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Just 2 days ago, the Indian ambassador to Kathmandu also met her. As Nepal begins to reshape its political identity, India is choosing to engage early. Our next report has more.
Earlier this month, Nepal changed almost overnight. In just 48 hours, a government collapsed. Protesters, mostly young Nepalis, took to the streets. They weren't just marching. They were furious. They stormed official buildings. They set fire to political residences. Even luxury hotels were torched and looted. The unrest exposed deep frustration and brought an end to the KP Sharma Oli era. Oli's resignation marks the fall of a political heavyweight. Since 2006, he played a central role in Nepal's power shifts, sometimes aligning with India, sometimes pushing back hard. But in his final term, ties with New Delhi turned sour. At its heart, it was a territorial dispute. In recent weeks, Kathmandu objected to India and China resuming trade through the Lipulekh Pass in the contested Kalapani-Lipulekh-Limpia Dura region. Nepal staked a claim to the region in 2020. That year, Nepal passed a constitutional amendment. It redrew its map and added Lipulekh, Kalapani, and Limpia Dura. India has rejected the claims, calling them neither justified nor based on historical facts. Tensions escalated further in August. Nepal's foreign ministry urged India not to carry out any construction or trade in the disputed region. India responded sharply by restating its position. By then, Oli's position at home had weakened. The protests sealed his exit. Now, Nepal has a new leader, Sushila Karki. She is the country's first female prime minister and a former chief justice. Her appointment marks a turning point, and her first foreign engagement came quickly. Today, she spoke to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This was her first conversation with a foreign head of government. The Indian Prime Minister posted about the call on social media. He offered condolences for the recent violence. He also reaffirmed India's support for peace and stability in Nepal, and sent greetings for Nepal's National Day. 2 days ago, India's ambassador in Kathmandu also met Palki in person. He pledged India's commitment to cooperation. The message was clear: India is ready to engage, and it's doing so early.
हिमालय की गोद में बसा नेपाल भारत का एक मित्र है, करीबी दोस्त है। हम साझा इतिहास से जुड़े हैं, आस्था से जुड़े हैं, साथ मिलकर आगे बढ़ रहे हैं।
This early engagement has benefits for both sides. Nepal needs stability and economic support. India has the tools to help. In recent years, New Delhi has backed Nepal's development efforts. It's upgraded border infrastructure and opened access to Indian ports, helping Nepal's exports hit a new record. Hydropower, long seen as Nepal's untapped potential, has seen new investment. With Indian help, Nepal is now exporting electricity to Bangladesh. This is the model India used in Sri Lanka after its 2021 economic collapse. And it's the model it plans to use in Bangladesh after the 2026 elections. Now, it's Nepal's turn. India can play a bigger role, but Nepal's politics remain complex. The protests show how quickly things can shift. But the moment offers an opening. New leadership in Kathmandu, fresh outreach from New Delhi, and a shared interest in stability. If both sides build on this momentum, they have a real chance to reset the relationship, not just through words, but with action.
For our next story, we look at Indonesia. It is the largest economy in Southeast Asia. In recent days, Indonesia has faced unrest that echoes scenes seen in other countries, and perhaps the worst violence in decades. It is testing President Prabowo Subianto. He took power 11 months back, and in this time, he has taken aim at Indonesia's billionaires. And now it seems to have reached an inflection point. Tonight, we'll break it down for you. The protest began on the 25th of August. The initial spark was anger over housing allowances granted to lawmakers. Demonstrators gathered outside the parliament in Jakarta. Riot police responded with tear gas and water cannon. And within days, demonstrations spread to more than 30 provinces across the country. Several regional parliaments were also torched. The flashpoint came on August 28th. When a police vehicle ran over a motorcycle delivery man. He was not part of the protest, and his death ignited further rage. Riots and arson followed. Homes of prominent politicians were looted. By early September, at least 10 people had died. More than 1,000 were detained in Jakarta. Human rights groups criticized the police for excessive force. The anger went beyond lawmaker allowances. By now, it was about low wages, unemployment, growing inequality, a whole lot of things. And the state budget did not help. President Prabowo reportedly cut regional funding to its lowest level in a decade. At the same time, he boosted defense spending. And he doubled funding for his flagship free meals program. Many people felt the priorities were misdirected. So to ease the pressure, Prabowo made concessions. He scrapped some lawmaker privileges and he announced a cabinet reshuffle. 5 ministers were removed. Among them was the finance minister, Sri Mulyani Indrawati. She was respected both at home and abroad, so her exit shocked markets in Indonesia. The Jakarta Stock Exchange fell. Indonesian rupiah depreciated against the US dollar, and investors began to question the country's economic direction. The new finance minister is a man called Purbaya Yudhisadeva. He's an economist. He has close ties to Prabowo's inner circle. He has promised rapid growth. He's talking about a $12 billion stimulus And he's also downplaying the protest. His arrival has shifted the country's monetary policy. The Central Bank of Indonesia announced an interest rate cut yesterday, and it was a surprise decision. The bank lowered the reverse repo rate. It was decreased by 25 basis points. It now stands at 4.75%. This is the rate at which the central bank lends money to commercial banks. Two other important rates have also been reduced. The message they want to send is this, that the central bank, and I'm quoting, the central bank is all out pro-growth. That's the message. But the pitch did not find takers. Critics say the central bank is no longer independent. And that brings us to Prabowo's next target, Indonesia's business tycoons. He believes they have grown too wealthy. He says they hold too much power in politics. He is looking for ways to seize what he calls ill-gotten gains. This includes palm oil plantations and mining assets. Reports say the government has already taken control of millions of hectares, and that billionaires could be next. They could be the next target, needless to say. This has spooked business elites. At the same time, he is sidelining allies of his predecessor, Joko Widodo. He is also allegedly redirecting resources into his own priorities. One of them is a new sovereign wealth fund called Danantara. So the message is quite clear. Prabowo wants to redesign Indonesia's economy, a model of China-style state-led capitalism where the government controls national wealth and redistributes it among the people. But the cost of this shift could be high. The protests have exposed public frustration. Investors are nervous. There are questions about Prabowo's loyalists. Do they have the experience to deliver? Experts warn that if inequality is not addressed, this unrest could return, and the next time it may be even harder to contain. So Indonesia's future now hangs in the balance. President Prabowo has consolidated power. The question is, can he translate that into public trust? Europe has unveiled a new strategic roadmap for India. It promises to redefine ties. It covers everything from tech and defense to connectivity and climate. But in the age of Trump tariffs, the biggest priority is a free trade agreement. The EU says it wants this deal finalized by the end of this year, an FTA with India. And look at the timing. A few days back, US President Donald Trump had asked the EU to impose tariffs on India for buying Russian oil. And what does Europe do? It doubles down on its partnership with India. Our next report has more.
Europe has unveiled a new roadmap for India. It is called the New Strategic EU-India Agenda. Promises to reshape ties with New Delhi. The plan has 5 pillars, covers trade and investment, technology and innovation, security and defense, connectivity, and climate and sustainability. All of this is tied together by trade. At its heart is a free trade agreement. The EU wants it finalized by the end of this year.
Our new communication sets out possibilities for closer cooperation on trade, technology, and security and defense and climate, a free trade agreement, an investment protection agreement, and a comprehensive air transport agreement can be pillars of this partnership.
Brussels also wants defense industry links. It is preparing a so-called Security of Information Agreement. This would allow the exchange of classified material, and it is pushing for joint work on maritime security, cyber defense, and counterterrorism. But alongside these initiatives, there are differences. Europe says India's oil purchases from Russia remain a concern.
Because ultimately our partnership is not only about trade, but also about defending rules-based international order. Our negotiations will address these challenges and with the aim of adopting a joint roadmap at the EU-India summit in early 2026.
Still, the direction is clear. The EU prefers engagement, not sanctions or tariffs. It does not want India pushed into Russia's corner. And the numbers back this approach. EU-India goods trade has grown by nearly 90% in the past decade. It reached $141 billion in 2024. Services trade added almost $71 billion in 2023.
What we need is commercially meaningful, fair agreement. And I need the understanding of my Indian counterparts that it must be fair and balanced, because this is the very important free trade agreement, which, of course, in the European Union has to be approved.
The roadmap also highlights green hydrogen, renewable energy, and climate finance. And it backs connectivity projects such as the India-Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. These initiatives show the breadth of cooperation on the table. But what is striking everyone is the timing. Only days earlier, U.S. President Donald Trump had urged Europe to impose tariffs on India over Russian oil.
It's a good deal for everybody.
Instead, Brussels has doubled down on partnership. The next steps are already on the calendar. Another round of trade talks will take place in Brussels this October. Internal EU discussions will follow soon after, and the roadmap is expected to be adopted at the EU-India summit in early 2026. For Brussels, this is about securing trade, technology, and stability. For New Delhi, it is about expanding markets, building partnerships, and strengthening its global standing. In the end, Europe has made its priorities clear. Its future lies with India.
America calls itself the land of the free, but turns out conditions apply. If you say the right things, you're fine. If you ask the right questions, also fine. But if you deviate from that, you face the music. That is the reality of freedoms in America. Look at the latest incident. A popular late-night host has been taken off air. His name is Jimmy Kimmel. He runs a show on ABC network. Yesterday, the network released a sudden statement. They announced that Kimmel's show was suspended indefinitely. Why? Over his comments on Charlie Kirk. Kimmel accused Trump supporters of politicizing this murder. He also mocked some of the president's remarks, including this one.
Mr. President, my condolences to you, sir. My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks. They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty. It'll be an absolutely magnificent structure.
That episode triggered backlash, including from the chair of the FCC. Now, the FCC is the Federal Communications Commission. Think of it as America's broadcasting regulator. They issue licenses, they define media rules, and they approve mergers. And the FCC chair did not like Kimmel's remarks. He hinted at some so-called remedies, and on cue, the show was taken off air. President Trump is thrilled about the news. He managed to send in a message from Windsor Castle. This is what he said. Listen in. Great news for America. The ratings challenged Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel's show is cancelled. Congratulations to ABC for finally having the courage to do what had to be done. Kimmel has zero talent. This is the US president. And this is not an isolated incident. Look at what's happening to the other ABC, that's the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. They have been denied access to Trump's press conferences in London. Do you know why? Because their reporter asked an uncomfortable question.
How much wealthier are you now than when you returned to the White House?
Well, I don't know. The deals I made, for the most part, other than what my kids are doing, you know, they're running my business. But most of the deals that I've made were made before, and that's what I've done for a life.
But is it appropriate, President Trump, that a president in office should be engaged in so much business activity?
Well, I'm really not. My kids are running the business.
But
I'm here.
you are also...
You know what the activity, where are you from?
I'm from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Four Corners program.
Well, the Australians, you're hurting Australia, right? In my opinion, you are hurting Australia very much right now. And they want to get along with me. You know, your leader is coming over to see me very soon. I'm going to tell him about you. You set a very bad tone.
I've got more examples. In July, media company Paramount agreed to settle a case with Trump. They offered to pay him $16 million. Days later, the FCC approved Paramount's pending merger. Coincidence? With Donald Trump, it never is. The same Paramount also cancelled another late show, this one hosted by Stephen Colbert. Both Colbert and Kimmel are vocal critics of Trump. Again, coincidence? I don't think so. And this crackdown extends to normal people as well. Consider the new visa rules. Washington wants visa applicants to list their social media handles. The idea is to profile the applicants, to decode their online political views. How is this okay in the land of freedom? More importantly, how is this relevant to a visa? Same with the Charlie Kirk murder. Washington is hunting down people who allegedly celebrate the death. And this is being led by Vice President J.D. Vance. He wants employers to fire such people. Now, for the record, celebrating someone's death is disgusting. And so is celebrating political violence. But here's the question. Is opposing Kirk's beliefs also a celebration? Is not mourning also a celebration? And don't get us wrong, we couldn't care less about America's political landscape, about their bickering and their cancel culture, but we do care about the double standard here. The US goes around lecturing other countries on freedoms. They release reports to grade us. Yet look at what's happening in their own country. A widespread crackdown on the media. Also, where are the global rights advocates? Anything happens in Asia or Africa, they immediately release reports. Why are they silent on the US? Why not list the United States as a backsliding democracy? Just consider the case of the Australian ABC. Why didn't the UK stand up for them? After all, London is hosting these press conferences. They are the ones issuing these press credentials. So why did Prime Minister Keir Starmer not defend press freedom? Why didn't he push back against Donald Trump? Like I said, it's a blatant double standard. When it happens in the third world, it's a media crackdown. When it happens in America, it's a political difference. Do remember this distinction when Washington lectures the world next. For our next story tonight, let's talk about the sun. It is essentially a big blazing ball of gases. And we see it every day, yet it continues to surprise us. I say this because much like our Earth, the sun follows a natural rhythm. It is a pattern called the solar cycle. It shapes the activity on the sun, like the burst of energy or the weather. And based on this cycle, the solar activity rises and falls. Right now, scientists expected the sun to be in a relatively quiet phase, but that's not happening. Instead, the sun is waking up. The solar activity is faster and fiercer than expected. And it could have serious consequences for us. So why is the cycle malfunctioning, and what does it mean for us? Here's a report.
It is giant. It is filled with gases. And it is hot. We are talking about the sun. This star is at the center of our solar system. And this big, blazing ball kind of works like a garden sprinkler. When sprinklers rotate, they spray water. But the sun fires hot particles. It throws the hot solar material outwards in any direction at rapid speed. We are talking millions of kilometers per hour. And the effects of this are felt throughout the system. But there is no on or off switch for this process. How much and how fast this happens depends on a pattern. Think of it as a natural rhythm of the star. It is called the solar cycle. For centuries now, scientists have been trying to understand it. Astronomers have been tracking it since the 1600s, and here's what they have found. Solar activity typically follows an 11-year cycle. It rises and falls periodically. When the cycle's strength rises, the solar activity is high, and vice versa for when the solar cycle's strength falls. Between the 1980s and 2008, the cycle's strength steadily decreased, after which the trend reversed for the next 11-year period. Now, in the 2020s, the latest cycle should have seen another reversal. The sun should have quietened down again. But that's not what is happening. NASA has conducted a study, and scientists have concluded that our precious star is defying expectations. They say the sun is waking up, meaning solar activity is increasing. It is escalating far beyond the scientists' predictions, and this will impact us. After all, the sun makes life possible on Earth. It provides heat and light for our planet, which is the main source of energy for life. So the sun's mood swings affect us. The heightened solar activity is expected to cause more solar storms and flares. Basically, they are sudden bursts of energy from the sun's atmosphere that send radiation towards Earth. They travel from the sun at the speed of light and reach our planet in just over 8 minutes. This is expected to increase and become much hotter. And this is not good for our communication systems. They could get disrupted, with radio blackouts, damage to the satellites, GPS errors, and even power grid failures. Plus, when there is a solar storm, it sends bursts of charged particles barreling towards Earth. The stronger the storm, the harder and faster the particles come rushing. And then they bounce around in our atmosphere. With a spike in activity from the sun, this process is expected to become more frequent. And this is good news for the skygazers on Earth, because solar storms unleash spectacular displays of the northern and southern lights. But the amazement aside, this process will also have a profound effect elsewhere. Charged particles emitted by the sun can also disturb the Earth's atmosphere. This is especially hazardous to spacecraft and astronauts. So why is the sun acting up? Why has the sun's cycle quietly changed? Scientists don't have the answers yet. After all, the sun may be a daily visitor, but its many mysteries continue to leave us hot and bothered.
(1952), that's when the charismatic cheetahs became extinct in India. So on September 17, 2022, on his birthday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched Project Cheetah. 8 cheetahs were translocated from Namibia, and this kick-started an ambitious program to bring the animals back from extinction in India. It's been 3 years since, and today India is home to 27 cheetahs. But the road leading up to this win has not been easy. It has seen several promising births, but also a few painful losses. Nevertheless, the optimism persists. So what does Project Cheetah look like today? What are its triumphs and trials? And what is the road ahead? Here's a report.
This is Dira, a 7-year-old cheetah. And she has found a new home. She has been released at the Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary in India's Madhya Pradesh. She was relocated from the Kuno National Park in the same state. And her relocation coincided with the 75th birthday of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who launched Project Cheetah on the same day 3 years ago. It was done with an ambitious goal to reintroduce the species in the country. And over time, it has witnessed many triumphs. Cheetahs are smaller than tigers, but larger than wolves. They hunt and conduct their business in broad daylight. For decades, the charismatic cheetahs stalked the scrublands and mountains of India. But eventually, they fell prey to habitat loss and poaching. Cheetahs were widely hunted for their distinctive spotted coats. And in 1952, they were declared extinct in India. So in 2022, Prime Minister Modi released 8 cheetahs translocated from Namibia at Kuno, kickstarting India's cheetah reintroduction program. This became the world's first intercontinental large wild carnivore translocation initiative. Later, 12 more cheetahs were brought from South Africa and released at Kuno. Today, India is home to 27 cheetahs. This includes 11 adults, translocated from African nations, and 16 Indian-born cubs. And this is a major win for India. But it has been a bumpy road. Cheetah reintroduction is not easy. It can be a slow-moving, risky process, which takes adaptive learning. In the summer of 2023, the project faced a major setback after the deaths of some cheetahs. According to the government, this happened due to unforeseen challenges of unseasonal tick infestations. Another challenge was monitoring the cheetahs once they were released into the wild. The wild cats sometimes stray outside the reserves. There have been cases of them leaving Madhya Pradesh too. and this prompted the Forest Department to track, tranquilize, and bring them back. But amid these issues, there have been many moments of joy as well. Female cheetahs have borne cubs 6 times, and this is a cause for celebration. It goes to show that a relatively new, but stress-free environment has become their new home. Plus, over time, the project has seen technological advancements. For better monitoring, GPS collars or radio collars have been put on the cheetahs. Drones and 8 high-mast cameras with a 2-kilometer range have been deployed, and dog squads have been maintained for the protection of cheetahs. It is commendable that these best practice protocols were developed indigenously. So what lies ahead? Cheetahs are territory-marking animals. So every cheetah needs a territory of its own, meaning, given the 2 reserves in Madhya Pradesh, only a limited number of cheetahs can be accommodated. So as the project moves forward, the cheetahs will need more space. With this understanding, Project Cheetah is eyeing an expansion. And as it looks to the future, with bigger habitats and strengthened conservation efforts, the key is to ensure that these magnificent cats not only survive, but thrive in the wild once again.
Donald Trump loves pageantry the way toddlers love birthday balloons, shiny and preferably all about them. So day 1 of his UK visit was all about it. In fact, we told you how it went. The British royals, of course, indulged Trump with golden carriages and a gilded banquet. But that did not stop Trump from speaking his mind. Take a look at this.
I just stood in line and shook about 150 hands. And the king knew every single person and every single company. And some of them had bad names like XYZ-Q3. We had a very sick country 1 year ago, and today, I believe we're the hottest country.
And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. At Windsor Castle, Queen Camilla takes First Lady Melania Trump on a library tour. In Israel, protesters demand a hostage deal outside the Prime Minister's residence. And in Greenland, NATO forces hold drills near icy mountains. Finally, we're taking you back in history. On this day in 2014, Scotland held a referendum on independence. 55% of the people voted to stay in the United Kingdom. Independence has been a long-standing demand of the government in Edinburgh, but the UK government in London opposes it. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
Stands at $36 trillion.
French,
Le FMI, comme
German,
Geschäftsführenden Direktor,
Hindi,
$30 trillion ka target.
Indonesian,
Pemerintah tanpa pemeriksaan
Italian,
fiskali radikali.
Japanese,
4 兆ドル以上も
Portuguese,
por causa do próprio balanço patrimonial.
Spanish.
Beautiful bill.
Go to Settings, click on Audio Track and select a language of your choice. Be the first to know what's happening around you in your first language. Firstpost.